Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in for Fresh Pitchfork Founder. So looking back over the last sales funnel video, since today's video is going to also be on sales funnels as a recap, I realized that I was supposed to do campaign planning, in that video, the following video, but then I had this bachelor party and things got a little haywire. So we're going to do campaign planning today as well as the recap of sales funnels. So the main thing I wanted to talk to you today about sales funnels is, actually I threw a couple of things extra in there, but the main thing I want to talk about was ClickFunnels. And then to tie in there, we can tie in autoresponders, which is something more for email marketing and email campaigns. But then also ClickFunnels actually offers a great auto responding tool, like it's called Actionetics, and I'm familiar with that, as well as familiar with Aweber and MailChimp. So those are the ones that I've used. They're definitely a tool that every business needs to use, especially in an online business. You need an autoresponder for your emails. It's a guaranteed increasing your sales, and lead generation is just something that you must be doing in your marketing strategy. So ClickFunnels is a really great service that's creating waves in the industry right now, marketing industry and sales industry. A sales funnel obviously is just a website, and it also ties in the traffic sources that bring in the traffic to your website. And also what you want is to ultimately, optimize your sales campaigns and conversions. So that is the gist of what a sales funnel is. You get the awareness of the customer, you trickle them down to putting money in your pocket. So this is how, this is the online new mechanisms to go about this. And ClickFunnels really is one of the best new systems out. If you know anything about the sphere at all, you know about maybe lead pages or sales force, and they are having a hard time compete with this guy Russell Brunson, who runs ClickFunnels. I'll leave a link in below so you can definitely check it out and get a free 2-week trial to really start building a website. Anybody can use this, and like they say on their website, websites are dead. And nobody uses them anymore. It's all sales funnels. No businesses use them anymore. They're only sales funnels. And that's what a website is a sales funnel. So check out ClickFunnels, and this is a really great source of information for anything to do with online sales or digital marketing. So check that out. There's a link below. And the other thing that I wanted to add, so chatbots. And actually the next thing coming up would be voice bots. That's coming up soon. So obviously about autoresponders we were just talking about. They, you can write your email campaigns in advance, and then also in a sequence order, so that when you get a new person to give you their email, they get the email number 1, and you already know the best way to tell them a story to get them to opt into whatever you're trying to offer. So you can do the same thing with messaging now with chatbots, and possibly even with voice bots, which it's more of an app thing. You could use a voice bot thing. I'm not sure if there's a way to tie that into Messenger just yet, but those things are definitely coming. Just to keep a mind, an eye out for voice bots. But chat bots you probably already came in contact with. They're not as hard to use. There's a bunch of third-party tools that you can use. They cost maybe a little bit of money. They might have a free program. I can even leave a link below for some that I find, even though I don't have any off the top of the brain here. But now that covers sales funnels in the recap. Make sure you check out ClickFunnels, check out autoresponders, their Actionetics, as well as Aweber or MailChimp, and definitely look into chatbots and voice bots. Now we're going to get into campaign planning. Now, this campaign planning strategy or template was definitely used more for advertising, but I am definitely going to tie it in with a content campaign. So if you don't have money or a budget for ads, you can definitely still create content that you'll be able to put in front of audiences and still generate traffic to your sales funnels. So the first thing of your campaign planning is goals. Now, these goals are going to what you're going to need to keep in mind for when you're tracking your sales funnel. Every little thing that your customer or lead will see, you're going to be able to track. And these things are all going to have to do with your goals. So, obviously you want you might have a aiming for a certain conversion percentage for lead generation. So, in other words, if you have, let's say you have an offer, you have a product, you have a bunch of things you want to get a customer to see if they'll buy, then you can create 10 different types of ads that are quick to different to the point. You can do 10 different ads per customer persona, and then do 10 different customer personas, really talking to that specifically customer, trying different things that's going to get them to say, wow, yeah, that's me, I have that problem, yeah, what do you got to suggest against that? These are just some things that you're going to keep in mind for your goals. So if you have a 30% conversion rate for your leads, you're definitely going to be testing your traffic sources, your keywords, your targeting words, everything that you're going to be doing with your campaigns. You're going to be able to track. And when your traffic or your lead or your customer clicks on these things, you're going to want to have these traffic tracking parameters in place. And so back to the step one of goals, what do you want to track? You want to know what your conversion rates are that we were just speaking of. You want to know the same for when they get inside the sales funnel, like which copy is getting them to click further into the website, into the sales funnel. They got to the first page, only 20% in there actually go to the next page and give us their email. So that's not, maybe that's not high, maybe that is high in our industry. We'll have to find out after some research. But then after those 20% get into the next page, let's say only 30% actually go to the next page. These actually are pretty decent things. So if you can generate a lead generation this much, but you can still optimize. But let's say that they're much smaller. Let's say you're only getting 2% to go through to the next page, and then out of then you only get another 5% to actually buy the product or give you some money. You are going to be aware of what goals you want, and you're probably going to want to sell more than 5% of everybody that you see. But keeping these goals in mind are going to be able to help you set what you want to track and set all of your campaigns around these goals. Your next thing is going to be your budget for your ad campaigns. Set amount for the buy all data. So basically there's a suggestion for you can buy the data. So whatever your budget is, they recommend like 20% of whatever your budget is to really test new things, to buy the data, to see who's buying, who's interested, what works. Have 20% to really play with it, and then your rest of your budget you'll be able to stick with what works and then fully optimize the rest of the campaign. So budget would definitely be your next step after your goals. To tie this in with content, maybe you don't want to pay for ads, but maybe there's a cheaper route than ads, and actually, or even just free, by networking, trying to get your content. So if you are going to write a story about your business, even though you could maybe not even write about your business, you could write about what your business offers without even talking about the business, but for one sentence at the bottom, and talk about your industry, talk about problems with products or services, and all these things, and then who's going to want to read that. What customers you're going to be coming in contact with. Well, what do those customers read? Do they have certain Facebook channels they watch, YouTube channels? Do they have certain blog posts they read? Well, or magazines? You can actually reach out to these things and offer your content, your article, your video to their platforms, their audiences. You might have to pay something to some people because they're obviously doing you a favor by getting your ideal audience to your content, which is going to drive traffic to your company. So something to keep in mind, and that is also tied in with your budget. So the third thing is we kind of just touched in was channels. You want to know how to identify who you're going to reach. So identify who you're going to reach and which channels are best to reach them. Identify all the channels that are centered around your ideal market, your demographics, their psychographics, and then target your market and respective stages of awareness through these channels. Definitely Google AdWords is definitely more of a product or niche offer, while discovery or awareness is definitely more on Facebook or Instagram, Snapchat, Reddit, things like that. So your next thing after channels, so goals, budget, channels, and now audience. So your audience, you have to know who your audience is. That's why we recommend creating ad personas and also anti-ad personas, or actually customer personas. You want to have an ad persona too, which is, how, what's the ads persona? What emotions is it, taking on? There's different personas that are going to respond better to your customer. So you know who your customer is, their persona, you know what they care about. Well, what about the ad? What ad's going to get their attention? What kind of persona does your ad need to take to really grasp their attention or their curiosity? These are things you can test, and you can translate these things into targeting terms. So you're going to be able to test all these things and get better and optimize. You're going to find out what works and keep optimizing from there, improving from there. Your next fifth step is creative, and this is of course your image, your copy, and your landing page content to test. So creative, this is always my favorite subject. There's a million things. It's like, where do you start for me? But there's what do you want after you have all this stuff, information in place? Get your images, get your copy. So what kind of images are your audiences going to respond to? One persona might respond to this image. We can test that. Well, how will they respond to this other image? You can test the same copy with both those images. Then, of course, creating your copy. These are going to be a lot of your targeting words and, things that are going to really trigger an emotional response to get them to do what you're asking. Give them an email, purchase this thing, or come to the webinar tomorrow at noon. So there's going to be many ways you can create your copy as well as test your copy, and you're going to want to create multiple forms of copy and creatives. So image, copy, landing page content to test. Those are the main things for creative. And the last thing, of course, for your campaign planning is your tracking. So plan your UTM, your tracking parameters, and then whatever ones you're going to be using, definitely have them all listed and how you're going to use them, as well as how you're going to read them. So you might have to have certain amount of information before you're really ready to get a result. But once you get that, you're going to want to know how to optimize that so you can read your changes. As soon as you change something, you'll be able to see the change in the tracking, or the change in the traffic, if there is a change, if it goes down, if it goes up, if it's more spiky instead of consistent. You'll be able to see all these things with your tracking. So know what you want to track and see your customers doing, whether that's where they're coming from, where they're going after they leave your site, what buttons are they clicking, how far are they reading, how far are they listening into your video. These are things you can all track. Their location. There's many things you can track nowadays. So know what you want to track and get those tracking parameters that you're going to use, and know how to use them, as well as read the data that they track. So that's basically it for today. Hope you guys get some value out of this. Tomorrow's video is going to be on, so I got a list to choose from, as you can see down here. I don't know if you can see. So I think we're going to talk about emerging markets tomorrow. It's something that I'm also very passionate about. I know I have many interests and hobbies. But yes, emerging markets is what we're going to talk about tomorrow. And we'll get back on track with the rest of the list after that. So emerging markets tomorrow. See you guys. Thanks for tuning in for Fresh Pitchfork Founder. Enjoy the weekend, or enjoy the day. It's Monday. Apologize.